I used to think that money gave you control. That with enough power, enough zeros in your account, you could shape the world exactly as you pleased. But on that night, my own engagement party, I realized how fragile power really is. Because all it took was a whisper, from a man nobody noticed, to turn my world inside out. The ballroom at the St. Regis shimmered with golden chandeliers, crystal glasses, and the murmur of New York's elite. My name carried weight here, Alexander Grant, heir to Grant Enterprises, a billionaire at 32. And tonight, I was celebrating the beginning of what everyone thought was a perfect union, my engagement to Evelyn Hart. Evelyn looked stunning, as always. She wore a sapphire blue gown that hugged her like it had been made for her alone, her blonde hair swept back into a loose chignon, and diamonds at her throat. People said she was grace incarnate, a woman who could have walked straight out of a royal portrait. I had fallen for her sophistication, her intelligence, the way she seemed to understand me when no one else did. But even as she smiled at our guests, her arm looped through mine, there was something in her eyes that made me uneasy. A flicker of calculation, maybe. Or was it just the paranoia of a man who'd been warned too many times that money attracts all the wrong kinds of love? The orchestra played softly as waiters floated through the room with trays of champagne. I picked up a glass, intending to toast with one of my business partners, when a shadow crossed my path. It was the janitor. He was older, thin, with a mop still in one hand, wearing a faded uniform that looked out of place among the glitter and silk. Nobody noticed him, he was invisible here. But he looked at me with startling intensity, like he had been waiting for the right moment. I frowned. "Can I help you?" I asked, keeping my voice low. He leaned in, his voice rasping with urgency. "Don't drink that," he whispered. "There's a drug in your glass." For a second, I thought I'd misheard him. My hand froze around the stem of the champagne flute. "What did you just say?" His eyes darted around nervously. "Your fiancée, she told someone to put it there. I saw it. Please, trust me." And then, as quickly as he appeared, he slipped back into the shadows, vanishing behind the heavy drapes at the edge of the ballroom. I stared down at the golden bubbles rising in the glass. My throat went dry. Evelyn was across the room now, laughing with Senator Morrison, her hand resting lightly on his arm in that way that charmed everyone. She caught my eye and smiled sweetly. If I hadn't heard the warning, I would have believed it was the smile of a woman in love. The room seemed to tilt slightly as a dozen questions flooded my mind. Why would she drug me? What possible reason could she have? Was this janitor some lunatic craving attention, or had he just saved me from something far worse? I set the champagne down on the nearest table, untouched. My instinct screamed at me to stay calm. To watch. To test. Over the years, I had learned that trust was dangerous currency. Business rivals had tried to bankrupt me. Partners had stolen deals right out from under me. But love, I had always believed love was different. With Evelyn, I had let my guard down. And maybe, just maybe, that was my mistake. I moved through the crowd, my smile practiced, my laughter perfectly timed, but inside my chest, suspicion burned like acid. I kept glancing at Evelyn. She was radiant, accepting congratulations, whispering into the ears of women who envied her, men who desired her. Did she feel guilt? Or was I imagining the faint tightness in her jaw when she thought nobody was watching? I didn't touch another drink. Instead, I watched as a waiter brought me a fresh glass, setting it neatly at my place at the head table. My hand hovered over it, and I caught a subtle nod, Evelyn's eyes flickering toward me, urging me silently to sip. My stomach twisted. I wanted answers. And I wasn't going to get them by sitting idly. When dinner was announced, we all moved into the grand dining hall. 1,000 candles glittered on the long banquet tables. I sat at the center, Evelyn beside me, her fingers brushing mine with deliberate affection. "You seem distracted, darling," she said softly, her blue eyes studying me. I forced a smile. "Just overwhelmed. Big night, you know." She chuckled lightly, squeezing my hand. "It's only the beginning. Only the beginning." The words clanged in my mind like a warning bell. Halfway through dinner, I slipped away under the guise of taking a call. Instead, I found the janitor in a side corridor, hunched over his mop bucket. "You," I said sharply. "Tell me everything." He looked startled, then wary. "I shouldn't even be talking to you. If they find out." "Who?" I demanded. He swallowed. "Your fiancée. I saw her with one of the waiters." She slipped something into the glass before they brought it to you. I don't know what it was, but I've seen things like this before. People think no one's watching, but I clean these halls every night. I hear everything. His voice shook, but his eyes were steady. She doesn't love you, sir. I don't know what she wants, but it isn't you. My fists clenched. Rage and disbelief battled inside me. Why are you telling me this? Because, you seem like a good man. And I've seen too many good men destroyed by people they trust. I left him there, my heart hammering. When I returned, Evelyn's face lit up like the perfect fiancée, relieved to see me. But I no longer saw her as flawless. I saw her as a stranger, a danger wrapped in silk. And I knew I couldn't let this night pass without answers. The speeches began. Guests rose to toast us, their glasses raised high, voices echoing with praise and envy. Finally, it was my turn. The room silenced as I stood, my glass in hand, Evelyn gazing up at me with that dazzling smile. I looked around at them, the senators, the tycoons, the celebrities. All eyes on me. My reputation, my empire, my future, balanced on the edge of what I was about to say. I cleared my throat. Tonight is supposed to be about celebration. About love, trust, and the future Evelyn and I are meant to share. Applause rippled. Evelyn squeezed my arm. But, I continued, my voice sharpening, I've always believed the truth has a way of showing itself, sometimes in whispers, sometimes in the smallest details others overlook. The room quieted, confusion spreading. Evelyn's smile faltered, just slightly. And tonight, I said, lifting my glass, I've learned a truth I can't ignore. A truth about betrayal. Gasps. Murmurs. Evelyn's hand froze in midair. I turned, my gaze locking on her, my words ringing clear through the hall. My fiancé, I said slowly, tried to drug me. The room exploded in shock. Guests whispered furiously, some standing, others staring in disbelief. Evelyn shot to her feet, her face paling, then flushing crimson. Alex, what are you saying? She cried, her voice trembling but laced with fury. That's insane. I slammed the untouched glass onto the table, the champagne sloshing. This was meant for me. I didn't drink it because someone warned me. Someone who saw what you did. The hall descended into chaos. Cameras flashed. A senator cursed under his breath. My mother gasped audibly. Evelyn's eyes narrowed, sharp as knives. You're making a mistake, she hissed, her perfect composure cracking. Maybe I was. Maybe I wasn't. But the silence between us in that moment told me. More than words ever could. I had caught a glimpse of who she truly was, and whatever game she was playing, it was far from over. And as the room roared with disbelief, I realized one thing with chilling certainty. This was only the beginning of a much darker truth. The ballroom erupted in pandemonium the moment the words left my lips. I had accused Evelyn Hart, the woman everyone in this room believed to be my future wife, of trying to drug me. The disbelief was palpable. Some guests muttered that I'd lost my mind. Others stared at Evelyn as though they had never seen her before. Reporters who had been invited for publicity now smelled blood, their cameras flashing wildly. But it was Evelyn's reaction that shook me most. She didn't cry. She didn't crumble. She didn't even beg me to take it back. Instead, she straightened her spine, her chin lifting with icy elegance, and looked at me as if I were the one who had betrayed her. How dare you, she said, her voice carrying across the stunned silence. Alex, you humiliate me in front of everyone, and for what? Some baseless rumor from, what, a janitor. The word dripped with disdain. A few guests chuckled nervously, as if clinging to the possibility that I was indeed wrong, that Evelyn was still the flawless angel they wanted her to be. I raised the glass higher, the liquid trembling inside it. Not a rumor. He saw you. Who? She demanded. Bring this man forward, if he even exists. Let him speak, right now. My heart pounded. The janitor, he was somewhere in the shadows, but would he risk everything to stand in front of these people? I hesitated, and Evelyn seized the moment, her voice growing sharper. This is insane. You've been under too much stress, Alex. Too many late nights, too many people whispering lies in your ear. I love you. I would never hurt you. Everyone here knows it. Murmurs rippled. She was good, too good. Her tears glistened perfectly, her trembling seemed genuine. For a fleeting second, even I questioned myself. But then I saw it, the flicker in her eyes. Cold, calculating, the mask slipping just enough for me to know the truth. I slammed the glass onto the table again. No more lies, Evelyn. Tell them what you planned. Or I swear, I'll drag the truth out myself. The tension snapped. Guests pushed back their chairs. My security team moved closer, sensing danger. Evelyn's father, Charles Hart, stormed forward, red-faced with fury. How dare you accuse my daughter like this? He barked. Do you know what this will do to our family's reputations? To your company's reputation? I turned on him. I don't care about reputations. I care about the truth. And I won't marry someone who plots behind my back. The room fell into uneasy silence. Evelyn's mask cracked just a little more. She bit her lip, then looked down, shaking her head slowly as though disappointed in me. You really don't get it, do you, Alex? She whispered, almost too softly for the others to hear. I leaned closer. Then explain it to me. Her lips curved into the faintest smile. You weren't supposed to find out. Not yet. My stomach turned. Her words were quiet, but they carried the weight of confession. My world tilted, and yet the guests were still murmuring, uncertain of what they had heard. I pushed back my chair, standing tall. You admit it then. She tilted her head, her eyes flashing with something almost triumphant. What difference does it make now? The deal is already done. What deal? I snapped. But before she could answer, a commotion erupted near the back. Security guards entered, pulling forward the janitor, the same man who had whispered the warning to me earlier. He looked terrified, but determined. This is him, I said loudly. This man saw what happened. Tell them. All eyes turned to him. He swallowed hard, then lifted his chin. I saw Miss Hart with one of the waiters. She handed him a vial. He poured something into Mr. Grant's glass. I've worked here 15 years, and I know what I saw. I couldn't just stay silent. Gasps filled the hall. Evelyn's composure shattered. She shot forward, her voice shrill. He's lying. He's nothing, just a janitor. You believe him over me. But the damage was done. Doubt rippled through the crowd like wildfire. I seized the moment. Search the waiter, I ordered my security team. Within minutes, they dragged the young waiter forward, pale and shaking. And in his pocket, they found a small vial of cloudy liquid. The room erupted again. I turned to Evelyn, my voice breaking with fury and betrayal. What was it? What were you planning to do to me? She stood frozen, her mask finally gone. The icy calm returned, but now it was laced with venom. It wasn't supposed to be like this, she hissed. Then tell me what it was supposed to be. I demanded. Her eyes narrowed, and for the first time, I saw the woman beneath the facade. Fine. You want the truth. I'll give it to you. She stepped forward, her voice ringing with cold clarity. You were never meant to be my happily ever after, Alex. You were meant to be my leverage. My ticket. You think love brought me here? Please. I don't love men like you. I use them. And once you were, softened up a bit, weakened, easier to control, your empire would have been mine. The words cut deeper than any blade. Gasps and horrified whispers filled the room, but I could barely hear them over the roar in my ears. I stared at her, the woman I had almost trusted with my future, my name, my life. You would have drugged me, to take everything. I said hoarsely. She smirked. Not just me. Did you really think I was working alone? A chill swept through me. Her father. The senator. The whispers in dark corners suddenly made sense. This wasn't just betrayal, it was conspiracy. Before I could respond, Evelyn raised her chin defiantly. Expose me if you want, Alex. Destroy me in front of them. But remember this, you're not as untouchable as you think. And when the dust settles, you'll realize you've made an enemy far more dangerous than a broken engagement. Security moved to restrain her as the crowd broke into chaos again. Evelyn didn't fight. She let them take her gaze locked on mine, burning with promises of vengeance. And in that moment, I understood, this wasn't the end of our story. It was the beginning of a war. The party was over. Guests fled in a storm of gossip and scandal. By midnight, the once glittering ballroom stood empty, save for me, my security team, and the janitor who had saved me. Why? I asked him quietly. Why risk yourself? He shrugged, weary but resolute. Because men like you think no one's watching. But some of us are. And sometimes, we're the only ones who see the truth. I extended my hand. Then you're not just a janitor to me anymore. You're the man who opened my eyes. As he left, I stood alone, staring at the shattered remains of my engagement. The betrayal still burned, but beneath it, a new fire ignited. Evelyn thought she could control me. She thought she could outplay me. But she underestimated one thing. I wasn't just a billionaire. I was a man with nothing left to lose, and that made me dangerous. And as I gazed out over the city lights that night, I swore I wouldn't just survive her betrayal. I would make sure Evelyn Hart, and everyone she worked with, regretted ever trying to break me.